Welcome to Combat Phase.
This is episode 233.
I'm Kenny.
And this is Wargamer Shawn.
And Wargamer Shawn is fired. Oh. We didn't tell you. I'm sorry.
Well, I guess I'll be done here.
Tonight we're going to talk about Shadespire, and David Annandale joins us to talk about his recent and upcoming books, including one which is an AOS Neferata book. So I think at the time of recording it, there wasn't much information beyond the announcement of it, and now it's up on I think it's up on the coming soon, so you can see a little bit more about it.
It was recorded a few weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, recorded I had to do it on a day that we weren't recording any other, just because of his schedule. So let's jump into some news. There's a lot that's been going on.
There's a lot, yep.
Yeah, so from the AOS side, we've had the Keratin Overlords and the Stormcast Vanguard, the Start Collecting Boxes.
Starter boxes, yeah.
Those are out. So I was wanting to do the Battle Force one for Christmas, because I think I still really don't want the KO like anymore. Like, it just, the priority is not there. And then I saw the Start Collecting Box, which is an even better deal. So if I do, then that'll be something I'll go with probably over the Battle Force and getting the medium-sized ship. There was Shawn didn't know about this, but there was a video that the title is Glub Glub.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this.
So talking about, there have been jokes about fishmen. I think it might be, I don't know if they're trolling us, so people might read it as like, the sea elves, the Cthulhu elves, whatever you want to call them, that people think are coming out. Who knows? But you can find the video and make the decision yourself. And the Daughters of Cain was a surprise announcement that it was coming so soon. Yeah. And we have the book, the cards that are coming with it, with the tokens that are really nice, and then Marathi herself, who's a double kit that makes her in her standard High Oracle form in the beginning that can only take 3 damage per round, which I think is pretty awesome. And then she turns into the big serpent, maybe prototype for the Fulgrim model with the serpent base.
That model is... I mean, GW, good, if you're listening, which you're probably not, but good job on the sculpt, because that model, just looking at it, I haven't even seen it in person, but just looking at it, that model is beautiful. That is amazing. Yeah. That snake kind of coiling around, it's really good. I just can't say enough about it. It's really beautiful.
It's nice. I mean, the technology is getting better, but it's nice to see them move away from the anchor points that were. And it's cool they can do the wispy little things like the Nagash or the spirits or the Inari, and those are great. But this gives me even more confidence for a Fulgrim model. There are, if you watch the video, Jeremy Vitak is the designer, which is great news in itself. Longtime Warhammer fans will know that he's writing a book, and that's always good. And they showed in the video, so Monday's video release on Warhammer Community includes pictures of Marathi and more about her and some of the Army Special Rules. But you can watch the 6-minute-long video where he talks about it. And in there they show units that we didn't see in the first preview thing, or I didn't see them at least in the LVO one, maybe they were. But that includes a unit of infantry that has, well, I guess you can call them infantry, that has serpent tails, like Serpento from the G.I. Joe, kind of like, except way the hell better. Yeah, so that's coming out. And then I also want to mention, while we're on AOS, before we jump into another game, Coalescence is the June event, this global narrative event. I did one last year. I'm on the story design team for it this year. And there'll be at least one, if not 2 events in Madison in June. But we're doing a March 17th event. We wanted the option to do something at the end of the Malign Portents opening campaign that's going on. And, I guess I played 5 games then. At the end of that, and then I'm going to be doing that at our local Warhammer store in Fitchburg. So it's a GW store. It's one of the newer ones, so it's branded Warhammer instead of Games Workshop. And you can come and take place. It'll be a mega battle. We're going to be doing it all day long from 11 when the store opens. So maybe starting around 11:30 or noon. And playing throughout the day, and it'll be a bring-in battle, and you can constantly come in. If you die, you kind of re-rack and come back in, and then you can leave whenever you like. So it won't be something you have to come and pay for and stay all day. You kind of come and go as you please. So we thought that'll be neat. We'll have a lot of great terrain, and then we'll tie the story between Malign Portents and then a little bit of a teaser going towards Coalescence, so what that's going to be in the summertime. So yeah, so I wanted to just put that out there and announce that. So there was a toy fair. They showed off 2 things, no release dates or anything. About Blitz Bowl is one of them, which is a smaller Blood Bowl game. And then the other one is a Space Marine Adventures game, which a close thing I think of is like Lost Patrol. Yeah. And this one's like Tomb of the Necrons or whatever. So there's 5 unique sculpts. And we only saw a small picture, so each one was in the color plastic of their, obviously Legion, of their chapter. Yeah. We don't know if the models are actually sculpted with the iconography. Then you
they're supposed to be individual, like freshly sculpted things. Probably get people to kind of get the set. Are these like with the Toy Fair? I'm not sure what they mean by this. I mean, it's going to be available at like regular stores or.
So what they started doing a few years ago, and there's even like a thing for Japan that has its own Space Marine heroes.
They have like a hero box.
They put that out to like different markets, but they wanted to a few years ago start reaching into the toy store markets beyond just the hobby stores, and even things that are like lower end hobby stores, like not like things like Michael's and that are not straight only, toy train, that kind of thing. So they made the easy to build. Before we got those, we got like the Battle. Was it Battle for Vadros or whatever? But it was the ones where they started releasing the old stuff. Yeah, from like the 5th edition box set or whatever it was, the Black Reach, where they started putting that stuff out. So they've been trying to put out products that will go beyond just those, but they're targeted for like toy stores and those type of stores. So being at toy fairs in the United States and then in Europe as well, they've been doing that. So this is another step in that direction to open up. And the thing is, like, you're getting more people exposed to it and bringing them in, and a lot of gamers that have kids that are now of the age to be able to play, like, you can play with your son, then that's pretty awesome too. And a lot of us end up getting them because they are models that we're looking for that are really cheap, like the stuff you can get for 40K from the Orc and Space Marine side, especially the Orc stuff. Some of it's still pretty good, and it's like stupid cheap, and it's in green plastic, and the other Space Marine is, of course, in blue plastic, right. So you can get stuff like that. Yeah. And then do you want to go into the next news? We got 40K, we got Necromunda, Black Library.
Yeah, so with Black Library this weekend, it's going to be celebrating the 20-year anniversary, and they're going to be releasing an Eisenhorn model and also a limited run of Lucas the Trickster. He's normally direct only. They're going to have him at stores for a limited run. I'm assuming it's fine cast, just like Eisenhorn. And then they're also releasing a book, Eisenhorn book, and also a new Lucas the Trickster book. So kind of going along with those models. And there's going to be rules for Eisenhorn to use in 40K. They did a little teaser like who would win, Lucas the Trickster or Eisenhorn. I'm assuming if Lucas got to Eisenhorn would be a very dead man. But who knows? But I'm pretty excited about Eisenhorn model. It's a character that was in the old. There used to be an Inquisitor game that was a larger scale. It wasn't the 28 millimeter.
It's a 54.
Yeah, and so it's kind of neat to see him ported over. And I'm hoping they bring more models over from the larger scale, because some of those models were pretty amazing, and those were old metal ones back in the day. So I certainly think they have the capability of doing it, especially if it's popular enough. And maybe they'll bring more when they're doing the Inquisition book, when that comes out. I don't know. As far as Necromunda, obviously this last weekend came out with the Orlocks, as well as the second book that talks about the Orlocks, but also the mercenaries for hire. And they're releasing some of those from Forge World, and hopefully more on just regular plastic. I'm not sure about that. There's
the limited time last call for like the print on demand for some of the old Mad Donna and somebody else are up on the GW site.
Yeah.
One of the old meta ones that they're going to print on demand and then get rid of. So that you can get those for a little bit. But yeah, there's more of the stuff's going to come from Forge World, and then the next game we get, whatever that is going to be in plastic.
Yeah. 40K, there was the rumor picture, the little piece of picture that they showed, looks like a Tau gun or some part of a Tau. It could be something else. I mean, it could be Necron potentially, but I think it's almost certainly a 40K model bit, not fantasy. I just don't see it in that. It looks too futuristic. The next, codexes we're supposed to get is supposed to be Necron's Tau and Drukhari or Dark Eldar. So they should be coming up pretty soon as far as pre-order. I'm guessing, is it this weekend or next weekend?
Things are coming up. They're not announced for next week yet, but things are coming up pretty fast.
Yeah.
So
maybe they're going to do when are they releasing the Age of Sigmar, the Kane guy?
So the first part of that release is this Saturday. So we may well see this Sunday
next week,
or the next Sunday when it says next week. They started putting up those Sunday articles and letting us know what's coming. So yeah, we also got you want the Thousand Suns FAQ.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we did get a 1,000 Sun FAQ. I honestly don't. Well, it only changed really one thing. I think the one for the Hellbrute really just kind of cemented the rules. I think it was just more of a clarification. And some of the other questions were kind of, in my opinion, people trying to cheat the system. I think they're only going to be those are the ones going to be mad because they were saying, "Oh, you can take from these 3 categories for powers. So does that mean they can get 3 powers from each of those? And that's just, I mean, give me a break. When you read the rules, you pretty much figure they get 3 powers. I mean, someone's just trying to cheat this. It's just so annoying. Like, I feel bad because I can just see the guy that GW answered it in a nice way, but you can just see him slapping their freaking head. And it's like, Jesus, guys, really? Are you that dumb? And the only thing that they did add, which was kind of cool, and I plan on modeling one, is that you can give the sorcerers 2 power swords, and if you do, then they get an extra attack. Now, what you're losing, you're getting an extra attack, but you're losing the force weapon, so instead of doing D3 damage, you're only doing 1. But an extra attack is nice, and D3 damage, in my luck, usually ends up being 1 anyway, so I kind of want to do one of the main characters in the Armon series is like basically was a master bladesman, who actually, even in the Crimson King, dueled with Lucius the Eternal. And so I really kind of want to model one with 2 basically Kopeshes and have him with 2 swords. So I think it'll be cool. Is it game changing? Not really. But I think it's cool. It's cool that we have that. I mean, we can, because we don't really have any lords aside from the Demon Prince. Most of our guys aren't that great in close combat, so giving them an extra attack is something. It's worth it, especially Exalted Sorcerer that's hitting on 2s. You give them an extra attack, because I think they have base 3, is it? Or it might be 4. I know Arma is 4.
I think it's 3 or 4, but in power level games, I found, trying to have try to get HQs in there, they're all like 7.
Expensive, yeah.
If not 7 or 8, so it's really tough. I think the basic sorcerer guy, not in Terminator armor, was 6, so I was able to get him in the game I played on Friday.
The Terminator guy is 7, I think, isn't he?
7 or 8, yeah.
Yeah, they're expensive. I mean, it's a very elite army. That's what it is, and I'm excited. Nothing else really different, and I mean, really, we should be happy. 1, that they did a good job writing it in the first place, and 2, that we didn't get anything nerfed, which is good. The only thing I still think they're going to have to FAQ, and I did send it in to GW because I know people are going to be that guy when they ask questions about it, but if you get 2 power swords, one of your power swords can become the Seer's Bane. And people are saying, well, do you still get the extra attack? Because technically it's another power sword, but technically it's not a power sword, it's Seer's Bane. So I can see people going, no, you don't get the extra attack because you traded it in and it's not a power sword anymore. So I really want GW to FAQ it just so there's no argument either way. I mean, FAQ it either way. I think they should still get the extra attack. I mean, it's 2 freaking power swords, really. But, I mean, if not, at least FAQ it just so there's no argument. That'd be nice. Other than that, I think it was a good... I mean, I don't think it was...
The horrors went down 1 power level from 5 to 4.
But I think that they did that across the board.
So,
I mean, even in Demons, they updated that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for that. There's been... we saw 2 video games. So one was a teaser this week for a Mechanicus game that looks pretty awesome. Yep. And then you saw one for Battlefleet Gothic. Yeah,
Battlefleet Gothic by Relic Games. They're coming out with one. It looks, from the teaser trailer, it looks pretty amazing. So we'll see. For those of us that like Battlefleet Gothic but don't really get a chance to play as much, it's kind of a way to do it without, having to find a partner to go and play.
Yeah. One last thing I forgot to mention. So for Black Library, for the event this Saturday that they're having at their stores, the GW stores, they are having the next set of books that we voted for to have reprinted. So there's Dan Emmett's Brother to Snake, and then some guy's name I'm going to butcher if I try and say it, but Drakenfels, which they're good ones, and things I'm going to pick up for just to have for our monthly giveaways for Black Library this year. And then the other one I mentioned is Gathorpe, Dance of Deadly. Was it Dance of Deadly Wit? I think it is. It's a Harlequin audio drama that came out. Yeah,
I'd like to get that. The other thing to not forget about either is if you go this weekend, they're giving away a paperback book with short stories for both AOS 40K and 30K, and you get it. It's a soft. It's a soft cover that you get with any purchase that you do at a Wargamer store this weekend.
Heirs of the Laughing God is the series. A Deadly Wit by Gathorpe. So
a whiff of what?
A deadly wit.
A deadly whiff.
Whiff of you.
Oh.
Whiff of your funk.
Nah,
who's got the funk?
That's your funk. I'm pretty sure.
All right, so let's do How Many Games Played real quick. So I'm going to go first. Hobby-wise, I have been bad at trying to get work done. But I pretty much spent my time painting more terrain for the event that was on Saturday that I ran, and then for stuff coming up. So that's pretty much the hobby stuff has pretty much just been terrain. Yeah, because I picked up my second set that I'd ordered before I knew that I was getting anything shipped for the Fire Slayers Shadespire Warband. So I have another box of chosen axes that are put together, but those are going to be the ones that become inspired version, or they're going to be the ones that go on the tabletop. It depends on when I get my next box set, essentially. What order they're going to go in. I did, as far as games, I actually got quite well. I got a few games in, and then I got to watch 3 games. But I got to play once on Friday night with a guy that is local that hasn't really had a chance to play a lot. He had some Tau. We went up doing a 27-28 power level game. Turned out that, which I think he won. And then it turned out at the end that he came in during the event and apologized and said that he actually had 40 power level.
Yikes.
So, that's all right. I mean, the Tau shot. I was trying to basically just, have a good teaching game where he gets to see what his army could do and move around, and he hadn't tried Maelstrom, so it was neat. He really enjoyed getting to see the difference from in other editions where you could just sit back and do nothing, and there you go. There's a Saturday event, which I guess basically let you talk about, because there was it was a narrative event, and they were playing through 3 games of the armies based off of, well, it was supposed to be Black Library books. If they couldn't, then it was supposed to be a codex or a campaign book. If they couldn't or wouldn't, then it was just a story they made up. But everybody at least did that. And then the event itself was 3 games going through the birth of the Cicatric Maledictum. So basically, as 8th edition's coming in and the galaxies being rent apart. So there were rules that went through each of the game, each of the rounds to escalate that and everything. And I learned a lot from it and things that I would take into doing it next time. But overall, it's pretty good. And then the last thing before we throw it over to you was I played a game of AOS. I played a game of AOS finally. It's awesome on Sunday. If I wasn't working this weekend, I would actually take Herner up on his option to offer to go down and fill the last spot in Holy Wars. But I was just talking about, I decided that, I want to play AOS so bad that I'm willing to once or twice a month, if I have a Saturday off, drive down to Chicagoland or Rockford or wherever, drive an hour and a half, 2 hours, and get in a good 2 or 3 games, just because I want to play the game.
Yeah, the scene in Madison doesn't seem to be super hype right now.
There are escalation leagues around. I think everyone's just kind of spread out, and I know this sounds bad, but I want to play my Fire Slayers, and they're not so great in smaller games, and I already have a very large force, so I think I would have more fun. Also, there are multiple stores I want to go to. There's just kind of where I choose to go, ideally for location purposes, but also just because of the way I feel that they appreciate the community and do business. And I'm not going to say any more than that because I don't want to cause any trouble. But so yeah, I'm kind of going between Peg and the Warhammer store, and then there are other stores that I've had to play at. Yeah, that was fun. So I actually won the game, and it was for Malign Portents. It was against Eric, who does the Mortal Realms podcast, whose armies are always fucking ridiculously, awesomely painted because the guy's stupidly talented.
And he's super converted too.
Yeah. I don't know if he's ever not converted anything. His army was death. It was at first chance playing against the Legion of Blood, Neferata, who I did kill again. I got to kill her, which was kind of fun at the very end, and he had his grave site set up, and so I got to see kind of how that works, but he's still learning his rules and learning to play faster for Adepticon, so he just stopped at some point when it's I'm going to stop assigning items and spells to my guys because we just got to go. So we played 2 full rounds of Scorched Earth scenario, and it was pretty fun. And then a little bit of Malign Portents stuff for flavor. But I've been that's the other thing I did. Reading that, I picked up that book during the event, and I've been reading that. So I'm up to the point where we're pretty much at the rules now for Malign Portents in the first book. But it's 80 pages for $25. It is worth picking up for Age of Sigmar, even if you're one of those people that just collects the stuff and may play one day. For $25, it's a really good price point, and you do get a lot of cool stuff in there. So why don't you tell us what you did hobby and games wise, and that can lead us into our Shadespire segment.
Yeah, I did. I was kind of furiously painting my Thousand Suns to take to the event that was done by a group, and Kenny ran. Unfortunately, I got everything except my 30 Zangors. I got one Zangor done completely, but 29 of them, they had 3 colors. They had a beak that was colored correctly.
They did, yes.
And they had some swords with some silver on them, and they had blue. But other than that, they were pretty much not done. So I felt bad because I've always been big on going to events and tournaments that everything I have is painted, and normally I've been known to stay up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to finish painting. I did that for Good, Bad, and the Ugly to get my Sisters of Battle all painted before I went, and unfortunately, I just didn't, and I didn't have the. I don't know if I would have even been done if I would stayed up all night. But the Zangors take a long time to paint. They're not easy paints. So unfortunately, I went with that. But I did have fun, and I faced a pretty much mechanized orc list that I didn't have much of a chance against. I did my Zangors killed a couple mega dreads, and then after that, it was pretty much a losing prospect. My list was 30 Zangors, 2 squads of 5 rubrics, and a sorcerer in Terminator armor, Armon on a disc, and a Demon Prince with wings. And then I did a Defiler. It was fun. I haven't gotten to play my Defiler since like 4th or 5th edition, and so it was fun to play him. I'm not saying he's the best, but it was fun. I took a 2 I still want to call them Dreadnoughts because that's what they were, but Hellbrutes. One that was all it's a close combat, so you had a fist and some tickly tendons, and then one that had twin-linked las cannons and missile launcher, and then I had a squad of Terminators, a Zangor Shaman, and what was my other elite? I guess it was the Hellbrutes. So that was my army, and it was fun. The Hellbrute died gloriously every game. It was kind of funny. I got to a point where I was purposely kind of trying to make my warband leader list at the end of each game. Like there was one game where every one of my HQs and all my characters were dead. I threw Aramon in when I probably shouldn't have. But the last game, I still had Aramon and the Demon Prince. He just couldn't. He had to go back and take care of a Trigon Prime.
Is that where you made the narrative move with your Zangors? Was that the last game?
No, it was the second game. I was playing against Space Marines, and I had 2 command points to save them from running because I had lost like 20-something of them, and I knew they were just basically going to cut and run. But instead, I gloriously used the 2 command points to let them attack again with the few that were left. I attacked, didn't do much, and then they all died because there was no way I could save them. I had lost so many. Didn't even matter what. I didn't even roll the dice. There was no way. Fun. I had fun. I wasn't able to play Friday just because I was trying to get stuff painted, and then
I cried a little bit. But I cried. Got over it.
I cried, and so did Kenny apparently. I picked up my Orlok gang on Saturday. I wasn't able to put them together yet, but for Necromunda, but I did put together my Shadespire, my Fire Slayers, and Skaven. And I actually had a lot of games with my son through, not just with them, but actually playing them against other armies in Shadespire. So that was a lot of fun. I got a lot of practice with the new armies and how they interacted with even some of the old ones. So it was a lot of fun. And I guess that kind of leads us into our topic today, which is Shadespire. Yeah. We'll give it a little love today. I think it's really good. I like the aspect. I was a little worried about the card aspect because I'm not a Magic player and I don't really like Magic.
Yeah, me too.
And it actually is really not that bad. I know I'm not a master deck builder, but I still have fun with it, and it's a fun one that I can play with my son, who isn't quite old enough to play 40K yet. And you can just play an easy, quick pickup game in like 30, 40 minutes. And
who gets that first credit card, and then all of a sudden he'll be playing 40K.
Exactly. And I do have Kenny to thank for getting me to play it, because I wasn't even getting into the game.
Grudgingly, yeah, you played.
I grudgingly played it. I'm like, fine, but I'm not going to like it. And then, of course, as soon as I played, I'm like, I'm going to buy this, and it was awesome. And then I pretty much have collected every army since. And
well, I think that's one of the strengths, then, right away with Shadespire. Like when I was talking to people about it in the store, and when I still do, is like, to me, this is like phenomenal, right? You pay $30 for a warband, which is 4 to 7 in the case of Death, I think, models that are new, unique sculpts. They're easy to put together. You get your decks and everything as well, so you can use them as models. I mean, they have rules for each one to use as models on the field as them on the battlefield of AOS, or just use them as replacement models if your armies like the Fire Slayers and you need some escape and haven't had any in a while. But $30, a single hero in plastic is usually between $30 to $35. So it's insanely good value to me, and the playability. And like, you can sit down, you can play 3 or 4 games easily whenever you want, and it's good if you have for filler time too. Like if you're doing an event, or you have time between games, or you do some hobby, whatever it is, and you don't have 2 to 3 hours, but you have an hour and a half. I mean, you can play easily 2 to 3 games in that time. Yeah, and I feel like you can keep changing it up, so it's never the same.
Yeah, I do want to say though, and I'll let you continue.
No, go ahead.
You do have to have. I mean, unless you have somebody that you know, it is more than $30 because you have to pay $60 for the base game, which I think is still worth it. I mean, you get 2 armies, and you get the boards. But see, the problem is if you don't get the initial game, you don't have the boards to play on. I think someday I really hope they start selling some boards.
I'm surprised they haven't by now. I would think that they would because the way that they announced the Fire Slayers and the Skaven, they talked about it being a different way to play. They're adding new levels of dynamism to the game. So that has been done through some of the rules and how they score and how it's a different play style of finesse, but things like shade, like the tactics they were giving you for the Fire Slayers, and I don't know about the Skaven. That I didn't see it in the article. Maybe it was, but about having the shades shards come down and start to block off spots on the battlefield. Like I feel like that heralds something they're going to do, and they've been putting out new stuff for Necromunda. They put out, I think there's now 5 or 6 available Blood Bowl fields in pitches that have double-sided. So, Shadespire ones in the box are double-sided, of course, too. But, I'm surprised that they haven't put something out. Maybe that's what's going to come with the next 2 warbands that are coming out for the Bloodbound and the Stormcast Eternals. But, I'm surprised that they haven't given us another option by now.
I'm a little disappointed that they're doing more Khorne and more Stormcast. I would like to see the other armies represented before they start repeating stuff, but
I understand. And even with the Advent, they had like the Wanderer, they had the Wood Elf guy. So maybe like, wow, that's interesting. I wonder if they're going to have something like that. I mean, who knows? The way they're pumping out stuff. I mean, Adepticon will be the next event where we get to see a preview of what's coming out. So who knows what's going to be in that video Wednesday night?
I heard they were. And it's a rumor, so don't hang your hat on it. But I heard that they were going to eventually represent every faction in AOS was going to be represented in that.
I can see that. I mean, they're in the meantime, it's unique sculpts. Like I don't need the cards for 3 to 4 sets of Fire Slayers, but I want the models, and I want a set to play, a set to use as inspired to convert a little bit, and then 1-2 sets. It's just new models on the table field on the table, and that's really awesome to me that I get 4. I mean, I was kind of hoping to be 5, but 4, whatever, it's fine. I'll take it.
Yeah, they're nice. It's a good game, I think, to get people into miniatures gaming because it's easy. You've got a board. You're not measuring anything. You're not measuring inches and stuff like that. And you're rolling dice, but it's pretty easily spelled out. And they're doing a great job with support. They've got facts. They do update FAQs, but also they're going to come out with a tournament pack coming out or something like that. There
already is actually. There's organized play that's been out there. There are people that are running it. So in the Upper Midwest, like we have Relian. At Relian is his Twitter. Brad, I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard of him, but he did something at PACA for it, and I don't know if he's doing something at Adepticon, but there is something at Adepticon.
Yeah,
as far as an organized play
thing. It's like an 8-hour grind. I don't remember how many games.
There's a lot you can do with it, and just having a basic starter set, right? And so you already have 2 armies or 2 warbands to play, and it's easy to teach somebody. And I feel like, if you're playing competitive, I don't know, right? Because I haven't been in that spot. I haven't tried to design a deck for a super competitive, all-day event. But, being able to switch things around, I feel like I don't have the same prescribed game every time. Like, you never know what's going to happen. You could design to grab objectives. You could, if you might feel safe saying, okay, well, when objectives 1 through 5, or I think it's 1 through 5 you get in a base game, then that's what I'm going to do. Or there's ones where you can design around speed or resilience, and then you try and get those objectives and those play cards that goes with them. So there's lots of different ways you can play, and I really feel like I haven't had any repeat games. Like I feel like each game has been unique, and I mean, it's a dice-based game still, but the cards are really nice, and there's just I think a nice way. You don't have so much ambiguity with the rules, and I like how you can play the ploys kind of like they had Triumph and Treachery for Warhammer, and there's that kind of fun moment when you play that on somebody. You be like, oh, sidestep, or you move them around, or you curse somebody, or you trip, or whatever it is. Like I think that element of that humor is really important for especially a GW game.
Yeah, so. And I don't know. I mean, I'm glad they're supporting it for competitive play. I hate to say it, but I'd almost rather see it not be really competitive because it just seems like more of a fun game, and I'd rather not have it. But I think the good thing about this is that you can build your deck differently, but to be honest, there's only so much you can do, and the rest is set. So it's not like people are min-maxing anything or doing like, you know what I mean? It's still, that's the cool thing. And I do think it's a pretty balanced game. I'm going to say in quotes for GW, but I mean, I think it's a pretty balanced game.
Yeah, very balanced.
Yeah. I really like it. I had a game with my son, and we were playing basically a Skaven versus I was playing the skeletons, whatever, the death guys. I don't know what they're called, but I was playing them. I was losing. He had actually killed more things, so he had more gold tokens. And at the end of the game, I had 3 gold cards I could play that just put me ahead by 1. So I was behind, but by the end, because of the cards I could play, as far as the gold cards, it put me ahead by 1, and I won the game. So you don't really know, depending on what your opponent has for cards, what they can cash in on. It's not just about killing guys, because when you kill your opponent, you get a gold for it, but there's more to it than that. Like a lot of my gold that I got 1 because my warlord, or I guess my band basically killed somebody, and I had a card that you get a gold immediately if your warlord takes out somebody, and so I got an extra gold for that, and so it was really fun. And every army plays a little differently. I will say, in my experience so far, my favorites are the Death or the Skeletons and the Skaven, and I think it's because
like trickery, huh?
Well, it's really interesting because they're both kind of weak armies. They're easy to kill guys, and they don't necessarily do always a lot of damage. But if you play them right, they're really fun. They're really rewarding to play, and I really have a good time with it because you really have to use a lot of tactics to win with them. They're not easy to win with because, especially Death, you've got 7 guys, but most of them only have 2 wounds. So there's a lot of times that people, you just boom, 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 you're like killing. I had actually my game yesterday when I was playing versus my son. He had the Harvester, and now, even though he was ahead, I had killed his warlord like right away, so he couldn't bring anybody back or make anybody like super at all. Like he couldn't inspire any of them because you have to bring him back to do that. But he got the Harvester in a spot where I had 3 guys, and he swung and killed 2 of the 3 guys because he gets to swing at everybody, and they only had 2 wounds each. It was like bam, bam, bam. And the only reason I saved one is I had it was a card. It's like stop death or something, and I roll a thing, and if I make it, I don't take the wounds. And so that's the only reason I didn't lose 3 guys. And so it was really cool because you can have things happen. They can affect multiple models. Some of them the Skaven have a card that's an upgrade for one of their kind of pestilent rat guys that once you give it to him, he gets to do 1 extra damage, and he gets to swing at everybody around him, friend or foe. So you have to be careful because you hit your own dudes. But if you position him right, he's not hitting your own dudes. So it's kind of like the Harvester, but yet he's still only, it's fun. I like everybody else is fun. I played the Fire Slayers, and I've played the Orcs, and they're both very powerful armies. Like they're very tough, and I know people are worried because most of the other ones, like for instance the who are the night guys? Why am I blanking?
Stormcast.
The Stormcast get inspired by blocking or getting a critical on blocking.
Yeah, they inspire pretty easily.
They inspire pretty easily. The corn guys, they either have to kill or lose 3 guys, and then everybody gets inspired just automatically. And then when the Orcs came out, the Orcs take a wound and they get inspired, which makes sense. It's kind of fluffy. It's like, yeah, you hit me and now I'm really angry, Yeah. And then the Skeleton, the Death guys, they'd have to die and then get resurrected, and then they'd be inspired. And then the Necromancer guy in charge, if he brought back 2 from the dead, he basically got inspired himself. And so those were pretty relatively easy. The new armies, though, are a little bit more difficult to inspire. The Fire Slayers have to hold an objective at the end phase. So if you're playing with 6 objectives and potentially you have 3 on your side, you're probably not inspiring more than a couple dudes each turn, and they only move 2. They're slow like the Skeletons. Once they get inspired, they become 3, but even then. Yeah. But the cool thing is there's cards for them that help them move forward. You can push it. It's like, you get to move this, or you get to do an extra move. And so there's ways to make them faster, but you have to plan carefully. And if you're playing against them, like when I was playing against them, it's like, oh, you need that objective to inspire? I'm going to sit on it. And, and so you have to get me off. But even if you hit me off, you still have that guy can't ever get on unless you can push him on there because he's stuck, sitting there. With the Skaven, they get inspired by playing ploy cards, not the upgrades, but the ploy cards. And not all ploy cards with the Skaven. Some of the ploy cards affect your opponent, so they don't inspire you. But anything that you play that is a ploy, that's how you inspire guys. You have to be careful, like when you play, because some of the ploy cards, you play them at the end of your opponent's turn, and it's like the next person who attacks gets this. So then when you got to remember, okay, I got to attack with this guy because I want him inspired. I don't want to attack with a guy that's already inspired. And so it's not always easy. Like I've had some games where they're all inspired, and I've had some games where with the Skaven where nobody's inspired, or maybe one is. And same thing with the Fire Slayers. It's usually pretty easy to get one or two of inspired, but you don't always get all of them inspired. It's just not easy.
Yeah, it made it sound like you have to, in the tactics articles before the warband came out, you got to kind of think about who you want to get inspired and then move them forward. Now, some of the cards in there, though, I mean, like with each one that comes out, you get universal cards, which is always neat. There's some new universal cards. I think they have one for the Fire Slayers, like Earthquake, which is kind of neat. Because I think anything that helps move you onto an objective for any army or any warband, like moving you and your opponent off of something or pushing them is pretty neat. And it made me think about one of the guys that can't be knocked back or when he's on one, and I think that's something that I haven't really thought too much about, like the knockback mechanic. And
it's an upgrade
as well,
by
right?
the way. It's an upgrade
for them,
yeah. And a lot of their upgrades are specific for certain soldiers. Like there's one guy that can get that. It's not everybody.
That's kind of nice. So I think the Runefather has that. Like he can't get pushed back. Again, like you have a warband, and you have, for the most part, I mean the skeletons maybe a little bit less, but unique names and personalities and styles for each of these guys. So they're not just generic fighter 1, 2, and 3, which is another neat thing to the game. And I really like the idea of inspiration because it's hard to get to it. But it also, I feel like in this game, you may be down, but you're not out. So you could always inspire later on. And I've had games where you table the opponent, or you wait till the end, and you're like, I got this, and all of a sudden they earn like 7 or 8 glory, and boom, they win. So I mean, it's just another aspect of the game I think is kind of neat. I managed to actually pull that I think like twice, where I won even though I got tabled, and once we got to the end phase of round 3. But I've had it done to me more than twice.
I've had it done to me. And the game I was just chatting about where I did beat my son because of the cards. He was actually had until I laid all my gold cards down. One of them, and I wanted him to kill this guy, and he did, is one of the cards was have no enemies adjacent to any of your players. Well, he killed the guy that was, and so I had one more move at the end, and I didn't move towards him. He's like, well, why aren't you moving towards me? I'm like, well, you'll see. And then I played that card, and I got 2 gold for that. So it's like you have to be tactical. It's not just about going and clobbering the other guy. It's you got to play your cards right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. I mean, and the models and the sculpts are beautiful. The Fire Slayers look great. I mean, all of them do. The Death guys were awesome.
That's the only one I don't have is the Death one.
I love I love them, and the Skaven are quickly. They might actually surpass the Death guys as my favorite. But they're beautiful models, and one of the Skaven ones, he's got like 2 little claws. He looks like Wolverine jumping at you. And there's one with nunchucks. And I shit you not, nunchucks with a rat. It's amazing. It's like, how do you make this shit up? It's amazing. And he's the one that gets to hit everybody around him. And then there's one that has that is holding a dagger in his tail. Now, I'll forgive GW for the fact that rats don't have prehensile tails, but it still looks cool.
Oh, when they're touched by chaos, they do.
I guess. By what's the master rat? What's the god's name? It's
the horn rat.
The horn rat, yeah. But they're nice. I'm enjoying this game a lot too, and it's gotten and it's smart of GW because it's like a entry level drug. It's like here and there's more here. Look at this. But I mean, I only started getting into Age of Sigmar before 8th edition came out for 40K, and once again kind of helped thanks to Kenny, and I started playing my Sylvaneth because I first got them not because I wanted to play the army, but I really love the models. I'm like, oh, look at these tree people, they're great. And I got into it, and now it's like, I'll have to admit, I have to stop myself because when I'm playing with the Shadespire, I'm like, I really like Death. Oh, and I really like these rat people are really cool. I want the Skavens, and I'm like, no. So it's a good tactic, but I really do like the game a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I like that it's different, and so like we said at the beginning, like it's not what I expected it to be. I had some concerns, and when I played it, those were totally not valid, so that was nice. But it's something that is heavily supported and is going to continue to be supported. They put a lot into this, and if you haven't played yet and you're excited maybe by listening to this and you're thinking I want to give it a try, you should be able to go to not just the GW store, but your store that carries GW products should have a demo game. Like they did a really good job of sending this out.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think they were all supported. Like I think Peg where we play has a starter set.
I think any store that basically has an account with them probably does. I don't.
It's smart
as far as I know, but yeah. But they made it out there, made it available. So without having to spend any money, you should be able to go quickly. Now they did add so there's a Facebook page for Warhammer Underworld's Shadespire that has everything up to date where we are now, and then there's a website which we mentioned a while ago. But there's a website you can go to, and it has a card builder. So all the cards are on there on the website, so you can see everything. You need the cards actually in your hand to play them, but you can go online and find them all on a site that they actually have, so you can make your deck easily without having to shuffle through. What I had to do basically is I go through it's all one box like an idiot, and so I had to pull them out into different piles of what's army specific, what's universal, and then what are repeats, get rid of the repeat cards, and then I make them like that. Now you can go on to the website and just, especially if you're going to be planning for something ahead, and it's not spur of the moment, you can make up some decks and play, just like people like list building as an activity in 40K and fantasy, then you could do the same thing with this. So
yeah, keep in mind too, you are limited to how many cards you could have in your deck, even though you have more cards.
12 and 20.
Yeah, is it 12 gold and 20?
Yeah, 12 objectives and 20 of the ploy cards
or upgrades,
which are a mix of upgrades. And remember upgrades as well too. You can't play those until you have glory. So they have a cost. So that's something that we found early on that you might want to think about in whatever your warband is and the different styles of decks you're making to experiment with. Is you have to if you have a deck that's entirely upgrades but you haven't gained any objectives or anything easy early on, then you can't use those. So I've had games where I had to discard some stuff in my hand. I didn't want to, but I had 4 out of 5 cards were upgrades, and I had no glory in round 1. So it sucks. So you just got to learn to find a balance with that as you're making your deck.
And sometimes the luck of the draw, you get cards. It's like, oh crap, I can't use them. But yeah, the upgrades, that is important. I'm glad you brought up that you have to have the gold to do it. And then you flip it over, so it's like gold on one side and silver on the other. You still get to count it towards your win, but once it's used, it can't be used again. So you can only use one per upgrade. So you have to get more to do more upgrades, which is, I think it's fair. I like the system, actually.
You get victory points, and you have to spend them, so you have to think about how you want to expend them. Yeah, I think I also really like the idea, the mechanic of there are many times, there are ways to discard your hand, and there's an all or nothing discard you can do at the draw, and I think that's really nice too, but I played against players, and I've had it happen to myself too in the beginning, where I don't want these, so I'm going to discard the whole hand, and then all of a sudden your reserve deck over your 3 rounds, you get to round 3 and there's nothing left to pick from. So you have to think about that as well, and that's just something that I think has to come through just practice and playing the game. But fortunately, it's very easy to get to the game and play it, and play several rounds of the game as well. So you can easily get 3 or 4 games under your belt, within a couple days, or maybe even the same day. It just depends on what you're doing. So if you want to bring it to your area, if it's not there, then just talk to your local store or wherever it is you get your games. That's not online, a physical place where you go, and then see if they'll do a demo and arrange, because it's really easy to do.
Yeah, and if you're in an area where you don't have stores, if you got a buddy that likes to play games, or even family that's old enough, it's a cheap game for the base game, which is $60. You can play. Now, if you have a big enough family, you can play 4 versus 4, but you'd almost have to have 2 base sets because you need the tiles, and unfortunately, the base set's the only one that's in it. But you can play 4 versus 4. And so it's really fun. And when I started playing with my son, and he's a younger guy, we just played without the cards. You can play without the cards. It's not the regular game, but so you can learn that way and learn, okay, this is how these guys move, this is how the dice work, and then add the cards in. And it's another aspect that makes it a lot more complicated, but a lot more fun too, I think. And so we now regularly play with cards, but my son at first started, just to kind of get him into the game, started without them. So
Yeah, I've had some fun 3 and 4 player games, and with the boards too. That's another thing too. Is so you have 4 total boards because each one is double sided, and there are roll off. Because you got to think about as you get more experience. What board do you want? What way do you want it facing? So you can think about where you can try to hold people off or gain objectives, or do you want to be in the back and move up front? Because there's spots on each of the board quarters, or each of the 4 boards that are right now that tell you where a setup spot could be. So you think about that as you're doing it, but then you also don't necessarily have to have them be flush, side to side. There's different ways that you can turn them too. So basically the game is, if you master it really quickly, if you're one of those people and you're like, okay, I want more challenge and I want more options, you have that there too. You can very easily turn the boards around. I mean, there are rules that they can't go every which way. You have to line them up in there are some limitations, but putting that together is kind of neat too, and to think about trying to experiment before you go to an event or something. Just setting up further away. Like with the Iron Jaws, like I would like to set them up instinctually, like on the closer to the enemy in the first few games, but I found that actually sometimes I want to, against faster armies, I want to put them back on the back, but then I've had that blow up my face where I don't have enough time to get closer, or they're over to me. So then you think about also, like, okay, if my deck is based around supporting defense, then I want to keep people out of my zone maybe, so I want to be closer up and not give them a chance to come forward. Or if there are objectives that are about holding my ground and keeping the enemy out of it. So I mean, there's so many combinations. So I think it's such it's a clever game.
It really is.
It seems like it's less is more, and they have not put in so many limitations, but that opens up so much freedom. Again, I mean, that's what I like with the GW games.
It's not a large rule book either, really.
No, it's not. But I feel like just like what's happened with AOS and 8th edition 40K is the opportunities for generalship are there. There's less rules to navigate, and it makes it easier.
Yeah,
and more enjoyable.
For those that are saying, I mean, I think people really haven't given it a try, but there are the naysayers that don't say they don't like 40K 8th edition, and that there's no challenge or strategy to it. And I just laugh because it's so strategy driven, and the new with the cards, the command points and stuff, it makes it so much more strategic than it was. And I think GW is doing a very good job of making the games easier to play, easier to grasp, and hopefully less arguing and debate over rules, and making it very good. But they've done these extra games that they're coming out with in the past, and me being a Necromunda player from the very beginning, is a lot of times they'll support it at first, but then they kind of just drop it by the wayside, and you're kind of left like, okay, we need some work on this, but it has to be fan based because GW is not supporting it. And I really am excited to see that they're coming out with these games again, but they're really supporting them and doing such a good job. And Shadespire isn't going to be a one and done thing. I mean, it's obvious, and they're doing a good job supporting it. They're addressing the facts. I think it's here to stay, and I think it's a really good game. So if you want to get into something small, even if you're listening to this and going, I haven't played any GW game, this is probably the one to maybe start because it's a real easy one to start. And
it's a low entry. The price point is very low. If you want to get different accessories like card sleeves, like I finally did for the first time. I tend to get the decks, the dice that come with them.
I get the dice and the card sleeves.
But $10 for the dice, $8 for the card sleeves. I mean, that's $30 for the warband. Like, if you're GW has expensive games, and they've definitely in the past few years with the new CEO and the direction that we all love, they have done what they said they were going to do and offer more price points. So you have more options. Now, a lot of times those are disguised. I'm going to say disguised. Those are presented in collecting boxes or box games that bring out models that are already there, but they're there attached to a box game. It's there, it's out there, and this is extremely cheap. So if you're on a budget, or you want to get in, or if you want to get your kids into it, it's simple, and it's going to be supported for a very long time. So
yeah. I think they are going to keep supporting it. I mean, it's just a great game. If you're thinking of teetering on the edge, try to find someone that can show you the game that has the base game, because they have 2 armies. But if not, honestly, it's really worth a plunge. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it. I mean, I'm the naysayer here, because at the beginning I was like, oh no, I don't want to do this, and I played it, and it's like,
yeah, it turned out really fun.
Yeah,
I got my plan to move back to 315, so we can talk. We don't need to rush.
Oh, okay.
She was on the phone.
I marked this too because I did a cough here.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
That's why it's marked that.
Well, I appreciate it. I've gotten pretty good at editing out your coughs.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
can usually see that.
Yeah, that's it's like, oh my god. All right, so yeah, I mean, I think give it a try. I mean, I can't say enough good things about Shadespire. I think it's going to be very supported. I think Shadow War Armageddon's kind of fallen by the wayside, but I think Necromunda's replacing it, and I think that's what's going to get the support. And I think Shadespire, I hope so too, because Necromunda's more important to me, but I'm biased. And sometime soon, guys, I know it's been teased, and I'm sure it's coming because they bring them back. But Battlefleet Gothic and Epic is going to come back. I know actually Epic is actually kind of done, but they're trying to get it to a price point that's affordable for people to get into the game. The box set.
We're talking about Titanicus.
Oh, is that what it's going to be called? Well, it's Epic for me because that's what I played when I was.
Yeah. So, we should distinguish. So, an actual Epic that has like the full armies. That is not.
Oh, it's not.
That's not on the table now. What is it? It's a development. What they've been showing off is Adeptus Titanicus. So it's the Titans and the buildings that they've shown so far. But that's going to be based around. It's set in the Heresy. That's a game based around the Titans. So there's like a warlord, a warhound, and I think an imperator that they're going to do eventually. Or they're trying to work that out.
Oh, so seriously,
so doing them down a tree.
It's not going to be Epic.
So yeah, so this first one is not all the armies and all the options. Like I have a squad army for Epic, but I can't use that in this. And the scale might be a little bit different too because I need to make the Titans work and look good. So I don't know if it's going to be the 6mm or it might be 8. But so it's not to say they're not going to do Epic, but the one that's coming out is not a full set. Now, with the Epic has had a living rulebook in the fan community support for so long that maybe I wouldn't be surprised if there's not within like a month of it coming out. Adapted rules to the net epic or whatever rules that are out there that are just like, hey,
that's what people want.
Attach it to this, and I can play my squats with my land train and overlords and shooting at titans.
I have a land train with the little helicopter on it. What was that?
Gyrocopters.
Gyrocopter, yeah,
they're a lot of fun. So and there's just so much stuff coming out, and you know they're still hiring more people, and it's stunning at where this company. Like it's just where they're going, and I'm not really on forums. I think I'm not on forums anymore too much. But you know, I think of when people would bring up the stock price numbers and all that kind of stuff, and then you know, the past year and a half, how that
I know it's been
turned
really
upside
good.
down. Yeah, it has.
I know from people I've heard, it's really good. But you know what? That's good. I mean, because it shows that they're actually people care about the games, but they're doing a good job supporting it. I mean, this GW community. 5 years ago was so much different, so much more reclusive. I mean, it's like, oh, someone from GW is almost like they don't really exist. You know, it's like you'll never talk to them. And now it's like they're going to these big tournaments like Nova, LVO, and Adepticon. You see them. I mean, I got to meet some of them. My little fanboy love for Duncan came true. Mm-hmm. I got to meet him. I got to have a picture with him. The poor guy. I got a restraining order. No, I'm just kidding.
Speaking of which, so we're
restraining orders.
Speaking of restraining orders, yeah, Adepticon. So I'm going to be at Adepticon. I may have a identifying T-shirt.
Hopefully,
perhaps. I know that you can't come to the full Adepticon, but maybe you'll
trying to come to
be there on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm trying to
walking around.
work that in. But yes, find us because assuming
he's a lot taller than I am.
Assuming we're going to have identifying T-shirts because I'm working on designing them, and I think we pretty much got it down.
Just pull trigger.
Yeah, and then it'll have combat phase with a new logo on the front and our names on the back. So if you see us, don't throw things at us, but maybe stop us and say hi. We'd love to talk to you.
Absolutely. You know, and people do every year, and it's always nice to talk to people, meet new people. So I'll have a ticket that I got early to the GW unveiling thing Wednesday night. Thursday I have a Heresy event. Friday I'm doing the AOS doubles with Tom from Warhammer Weekly, which is a show that is on YouTube every Wednesday night. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer. Vincent has been on the show before. Tom's got his character and overlords that are styled as Fire Slayers as well that he's mixing in. So we're trying. We're not trying to be super competitive, but we're going to try and do as best we can. Because last year, when we played with Christian, we weren't trying to win, but he had Phoenix Guard, and I had Fire Slayers, and almost everything had a hair save, or I guess an elf. I don't know, an ear save, or leaf save, whatever the hell you want to call it for them. So like, but it was very durable armor. We actually did pretty good. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we're not going to win the event or anything, but we might be able to watch us win. That'd be hilarious if we won. So we'll be there, and then I'm planning on playing in the hopefully, if all things work out, playing Saturday and Sunday in the AOS Championships. So the 2-day event, which will be a lot of fun too. So, but yeah, definitely come and see us and say hello. I mean, there's just so much. Like, I don't know where the roof is on Adepticon. Like, I mean, eventually they're gonna have to take it off to fit more people in. But yeah, I mean, it's cool that there's that much success.
It's grown so much since I even started going. I mean, it was in a smaller venues, and even now where it's at, it seems to have already almost outgrown it.
Yeah, and then of course there's, for the people that can't make it, there's videos. I mean, I'm nowhere near caught up on Twitch video. I still have my Twitch subscription. I think 2 weeks ago I had my 14-month anniversary. You're trying to watch the games and the stuff that they put out each week. I can't even get caught up. So there's so much to choose from. And yeah, it can feel kind of frustrating and overwhelming sometimes when it's too much, but that's a first world problem, like, embarrassment of riches. So, we have too much to choose from. Oh, woe is me. Yeah, I mean, Adepticon should be really neat, and a lot of people are gearing up for it. I'm going to be looking forward to this weekend. Holy Wars, I won't be able to be there, but watching the coverage from there. I don't know if Beast of War is going to be there covering it again, but as far as like stuff on Twitter and Facebook, should be interesting to watch. So yeah, beautiful tables, and I'm sorry I can't be there, but it should be a lot of fun for those that are going, and I just love seeing pictures from that. Because it's just stunning. The tables and everything are stunning. Anything else we want to say before we bring on David Annandale?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess in closing, honestly, guys, if you're looking for the leap for Shadespire, it's a lot of fun. It's both dice and cards, and it's very strategic but very short and very fun. It's a short pickup game. It's not as long of a time commitment as an Age of Sigmar game or a 40k game or 30k game, but it's a lot of fun, and I think it's worth doing and playing. So
yeah, you may surprise yourself.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah. I surprised myself.
I mean, Kenny surprised me, honestly, because like so many things he's done. No, but he did get me to play it, which was really good. I mean, he really got me into it, which I wouldn't have otherwise. So I'm glad I gave it a try, and I'm very much a proponent for this game now because I think it's a great game.
Yeah, well done. And then we're going to play our interview with David Annandale. And then, the person who won the January, the calendar did contact us, so thank you. I have to get that out to him. And the first of February giveaways is that anthology that's signed by C.L. Warner for his Caradron Overlord his story. And then the other prize that we're going to give out is going to be the Caradron Overlord novel, the Overlords of the Iron Dragon. So for the one that was for the first part for the anthology, you just had to go to that post or contact us on Facebook or Twitter and tell us anything at all, basically any stories, biography, whatever, of Age of Sigmar that you would like to read or listen to from Black Library. So we're going to draw a winner from that this week between shows, and then for the one that's up there for the Overlords, we should probably have them do something a little bit different. Maybe they could share with us well, go ahead.
Well, I was going to. It sounds like you're thinking the same thing, but I was going to say, how about they share a painted model of an Age of Sigmar character that they care about? That seems kind of cool.
Yeah,
some painted models shared on Facebook.
Yeah, that works. Yeah. Send us or in the case if you're like there's some really good fan art if you're a super good artist.
Oh yeah,
and you can draw, and you have, because I've seen some of those on the Black Library pages, which is interesting. Some really good fan art that comes up.
Maybe by that, whoever gets the most likes on their pictures, maybe they could be the winner type thing.
Maybe there might be internet shenanigans.
Oh. Yeah.
Who knows? Well, yeah. So yeah, post up a painted model or an artist depiction of an AOS model that you have, and that can be a fantasy model from the old edition that, of course, now has a whatever it's called in Age of Sigmar. But yeah, throw that up there, and that would be good. I guess not everybody's had a chance to get Caradron Overlords, and of course, I think everything should be Dwarf for Duarden. But I understand that everybody wants to play all that, so. Yeah, anything from Age of Sigmar, and throw that up, and yeah, that'll be good. So we'll draw that winner. I guess probably like the first week of March or something, like right over the end. But yeah, so we will at the next show announce the winner of the signed anthology, which is the first of our two giveaways, and then March is probably going to have at least something from the Black Library Special Day on the 24th. So I would think there would be at least one prize in March. I think it'd be at least one of those things. Okay.
It's like we don't know.
Yeah. Well, we don't actually entirely. Love to see what's available and how generous Spirit. We have these instant moments of generosity where we're going to give a bunch of stuff away. So please participate. You'd be surprised in any podcast and any show how few people actually do put in entries because they think they're not going to win. And the funny thing about that is that it makes the pool a lot smaller. So it's totally worth it. So yeah, do that, and we'll see you all next week. So enjoy this fine Canadian author, and then we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, have a good day.
Hoser?
Oh, jeez.
You betcha.
Don't you know?
All right, so welcome back to Combat Phase, and David Annandale is back on, and this is 2018 versus 20 years Black Library. We have a lot to talk about. So you had quite a lot of books coming out, and I'm sure you have quite a lot coming up. So I guess, first of all, welcome back on the show.
Well, thanks for having me again.
Yeah, well, it's always a pleasure to have you on, and I guess I should jump right into the Grey Knight stuff. We can start with there. So you've had a couple of books, because another one just came out recently in paperback, too. So you have 2 of the character series books out.
That's right, yes. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, sorry, you can go ahead and talk about those if you like.
Yeah, so Warden of the Blade, the first of the Castellan Crow trilogy, has just come out in paperback in conjunction with the hardcover release of Castellan, which is book 2 in the series. So that just hit, and Castellan picks up right where Warden of the Blade leaves off. And I'll actually be getting to work on Volume 3 later this year.
Awesome. Well, I guess that's what have you learned about it. So writing these 2 books now and then getting into a third one, who are the Grey Knights to you at this point? Has that changed? Has that evolved for you?
Well, I guess I certainly I feel much closer to them. I've always enjoyed writing them, but I guess they feel like the home team now, if that makes any sense. And Crow in particular, with the third book that I do for him, that will make him, I guess, the character I have written the most about in the Black Library. He'll have just, I think, well...
He beat the Commissar?
Beg your pardon?
Did he beat the Commissar?
Well, I was just working that out. I mean, I suppose if you total up all of the Yarick short stories and the novella, it might be a tie. So certainly more individual titles with Yarick. On the other hand, if you then combine the Crow trilogy with the Sons of Titan collection, then the Grey Knights probably went out. And so this was, like I said, Crow is certainly the... he was a character that I immediately latched onto. It was I love his story, the cross he has to bear, literally. And I have to say, when I wrap up the trilogy, I'll be sorry to say goodbye, and would return to him in a heartbeat if that's the way the fates decree. So
40K has gotten a lot darker as the narrative has gone forward, and that's great. It's always been the grimdark, but with the, I guess, literally darker with the Cicatrix Maledictum. What's it like writing in this new period of 40K as the narrative is advancing? Because that's great, and that's it's gone through the different stories, especially the second one here. So these, they're in this setting now that has advanced. Not that necessarily there's one storyline. It's a lot darker. I'm just curious what it was like for you exploring this even darker, grimdark setting.
Well, in some respects, I'm only just getting going on that, with Castellan being the first book I've written that takes place after the arrival of the Great Rift, or in fact during its arrival. So in some ways, it's a transitional novel. It was when I started writing it, that was just when we got the news that okay, this was going to happen, and so I needed to take that into account in the book. Given that with the Grey Knights and the sorts of things that they're going to be fighting, it's going to be kind of all demonic all the time. The universe they were confronting was already pretty bleak, so there may be more of this stuff, but it's not like it. I mean, I think for Crow and Company, the radical change is the return of Guilliman.
Oh yeah.
So there's definitely upheaval in that regard. As far as as a writer is concerned, there's a wider scope for more awful stuff, which always appeals to me.
Yeah, I guess I was wondering if anything scares you about writing these books in this new setting. So not like, oh my gosh, I'm a writer, read, but I mean, you were the characters, or it seems like there's some new horror, some new fear.
Oh yeah. So there's so much more and sort of more apocalyptic things to unleash upon various planets, and I think it also creates some interesting opportunities, since you now have these two quite distinct sides to the Imperium, right? The part that is it's kind of holding it together, and the stuff that's fallen into the darkness, and so it opens up the scope, not just for the awfulness, as I said a moment ago, but just the kinds of stories that we can tell. I think there's a lot more now, too.
Are there certain stories?
And it wasn't like the sandbox was small to begin with.
No. Are there certain stories, or are there paths you would like to travel with the new 40K?
Still very much in the exploratory sense there, and I have the Third Crow book mapped out. So that's so once that's done, then I guess it's going to be kind of new territory for me to see what comes next as far as venturing deeper into the new 40K universe.
We were just going through some of our codex reviews these past couple of weeks, and the timelines that are in there, and we talk about from 2 sentences from one of these codexes, we got the Beast Arises series. So there's lots of little threads seated in there. There's a lot of potential for that. Could be a great Black Library book. That could be a great series. That could be a short. So there's a lot of good stuff in here.
Mm-hmm.
Before we talk about what's coming up, let's stay with this a little bit further. So you are one of the stories. There's 2 books that I just want to tell people about. Again, that they may have forgotten, or if they don't have a GW store, they may not have gone to. But there's 40K and Age of Sigmar, both do an introductory. I guess an introductory book, kind of give you an idea of the setting. So the 40K one is the Crusade and other stories, and then Hammerhall for Age of Sigmar and other stories. And there's a lot of stuff in there. So these are fun little ones where we have work dispersed through these. And they're quite cheap. I think the printed one's like $8, and the audiobook is like $9, and it's like 13 hours or something. But there's a lot of great stuff in there too. So if you haven't seen those are ones to check out, and you might as well just pick up both of them and get a good grasp, because there's new stories in there as well.
And that was anthologies. I found were a good way in for me when I started reading 40K. The variety of stories gives you lots of snapshots of the universe, and kind of gets you into the swing of things in quite a painless and a very fun way.
It does. It really was a really nice introduction, and you could kind of skip through and decide what you like, and it's easy to go back, I think, too, when you're making your inspiration for getting into one of these.
Mm-hmm.
So during the Advent that we had, Advents are always a lot of fun. We had you join us with an Age of Sigmar story.
Yes, so that was The Dance of the Skulls, which was my first Neferata short story, and that is a bit of a foretaste for what's coming. So sometime in the next little while, my first Neferata book will be appearing, and I'm going to be splitting my attention between 40K and the Age of Sigmar for a while now, and as Crow has been my primary focus in 40K, Neferata is going to be my primary focus in the Age of Sigmar.
So I guess I'm not sure how much you can tell us about that, but this week we saw the news that dropped over the weekend was that the Nagash Battle Tome is for pre-order on Saturday. So by the time this episode goes up, you'll already been able to order it, and we get line importance and everything, and they've been giving us short stories, and there's a lot of exciting stuff. So this is Neferata. I think that there's going to be a lot of I say attention, but I think there's a lot of just chomping at the bit desire for death. Josh Reynolds teased us last year with death in 2018 for those fans, that they're going to get a lot to I'll say a lot of bones to chew on, but they're going to get some attention. So what can you tell us about I mean, you don't have to go into like deep spoiler or anything, but what can you tell us about that, about death in AOS in the year 2018, and the book you're writing for her, or things you're looking forward to for Neferata?
Well, the funny thing is when I had just been thinking that I would really like. I'd written a few short stories for the Age of Sigmar, but hadn't done a novel yet, and was thinking that I would very much like to do that. And Nick Kime apparently read my mind, because I then got an email from him saying, "Do you want to do this? And would you like to do Neferata?" And if there was one character I would have picked from all of the Age of Sigmar figures to write about, it would have been her. So I was practically on the ceiling when I got that email. So, and the brief for the story, for the tales to tell about her, was to aim for something, if memory serves, like it was a Game of Thrones meets Crimson Peak by way of Excalibur. Oh, sorry, no, House of Cards meets Crimson Peak by way of Excalibur. So, a very interesting and fun challenge. So, the book that will be coming out is it kind of picks up after the events of the Realm Gate Wars, and it's kind of serving to sort of situate her and sort of establish where things are at with her in the Age of Sigmar now, and then we'll go from there.
That's timed really nice too, because so before we forget, don't forget to pick up the Dance of Skulls, the short story, because you get to see a different. I like what we have with Neferata here. I like the personalities and the tone that it's laying down. It's different from what we had before in the time of Legends, but it's still recognizable as the character, and it's like you get to see a new side of her, which is cool. And I think she's a very compelling character already.
Yeah, I agree. And there's, I mean, I love what Josh Reynolds and Clint Werner have done with her as well. So I'm excited to put my stamp on the character. And I should add, actually, that Dance of the Skulls you can get for free with this month's White Dwarf. So, that's a supplement to that as well.
Awesome. Well, let's see. Then there's no excuse not to get it.
Exactly.
That'd be good. Yeah, so the Neferata stuff coming up, I think that's death players are kind of coming up everywhere, and I know now's their time. Yeah. They have waited a while for various parts of the games, and yeah, I think that they're going to have a really great 2018. So that's pretty exciting. All right. Anything else coming up that you want to talk about?
I think let's see. I think that's what I can talk about that's coming out right now.
Okay. Well, we're going to be doing lots of these interviews over the year, and we're going to try and have one maybe every other show that's around 15 minutes. So thank you for coming on and talking to us, and when something comes up, let us know. But also make sure to keep watching this year, because we're doing 20 years of Black Library, so we're doing a giveaway, at least one giveaway each month. So we've already wrapped up and given away one of the calendars for 2018. Then we have a couple books for February as well. So do watch and stay with us and continue to celebrate. So you can go out and check out David Annandale's other books at blacklibrary.com. You can go and also take a look at the past shows that we've done in the show notes below. There's been quite a lot of them. But we did a big one on Ruinstorm recently as well too. So you can go check that out. And also, that's if you're in the Heresy, right? Like don't forget about the Heresy. That's a major chapter in the Heresy. A lot of really important stuff. I have a friend at work who's reading and he's not reading in order, and he's talking about some of the books. I'm like, there are major points on the timeline, that things that have to happen, and you need to have these books. So I recommend don't skipping these.
It's all coming to a head now.
Yeah, and here we are in the final chapter. So are you looking forward to the end of the not the Heresy ending, meaning like. But, I guess the Siege of Terra and Beta Gammon and the final chapters here. Yeah,
there's a lot. All the really big bangs are now happening.
Oh, God. It's going to be exciting and expensive, but wonderful, wonderful year. Yeah. All right, well, thanks for coming on, and we'll have you back on soon.
Great, thanks for having me.
Goodbye, you sexy motherfucker.